All right, well, we're starting here with this packet tracer, and I know it looks a little bit funny. What I've done is I've highlighted each of the networks in a different color because I know some students up to this point, they really haven't paid attention to how the different networks work together. That's not you, right? Yeah, I wanted to set this up as a little bit of a challenge so that you can test yourself. I'm going to walk you through two of these routers step by step and also configuring the other devices in the network. And then I'm going to leave the remaining two for you to go ahead and configure. Let's hope you can do it. Maybe I'll make an answer video. We'll see if I have time for that. But let's go ahead and jump in here. So on this first network that's teal here to the left, it's on the 192.168.0.0 network, which is a /24, which means 24 bits are on in the subnet mask. So that's a 255.255.255.0 network. Each IP address, of course, has to be in that address range. We have a PCA, we can call it here, that's on 192.168.0.3, and PCB that's on 192.168.0.4. And then up here at our default gateway on the router, which is Gigabit Ethernet 0. Oh, did that say zeros? I thought I did 00. Well, there's an easy way to check. Let me just see if I did 00. The easiest way to check, I think, is to do this and then go right here. I'm pretty sure I had done 00. And then we want to connect to a gig 0. Okay, so it's on 00. That's great. That's what we're going to configure it as. I haven't configured any of the interfaces yet. So I'll show you how to do that just in case for some reason you've missed that part of your class or didn't watch one of my videos on that. So then we have these networks up here. I've indicated them all in gray so that we didn't get too many colors going, but they are different networks. We have the 10.0.0.0 network between a router 1 and router 2. We have the 10.0.0.4 network between router 2 and router 3. And we have the 10.0.0.8 network between router 3 and router 4. And that's going to be important for configuring our next hop IP addresses. Let's get started down here with our PCs. So we can just go to desktop, IP config, and this is going to be 192.168. So make a dot, not a comma. .0.3. And then it's going to default to the Class C address type, which is great. That's what we want. And our default gateway, which we have not configured yet on our router, but we will. Our default gateway is going to be 192.168.0.1. All right, that's great. We just need to go over here to PC4, go to our desktop, configure 192.168.0.4, and then 192.168.0.1 is going to be our default gateway. All right, now I can ping from PC to PC already without having anything configured on the router yet. Why can I do that? Because PCs on the same network, they just use the switch, they use the MAC address table to keep track of where devices are. They go through an ARP. Hopefully you know all of that, but we'll just test it right now. Ping 192.168.0.4. And there we go. Even though nothing's configured on the router, that's fine. We're not going through the router on the local area network. But let's go up to the router now. There's no configurations on here yet. I'll just do a show run so you can see that. So we haven't even called it router 1 yet or anything. There's nothing. And I'm just pushing the space bar to go through here. Let me make it a little bigger so you can see. Yeah, nothing's been configured. You can see nothing configured on gig 00 yet. Nothing yet. I'm not going to do any passwords or anything. I will do a host name because that way, if I get a bunch of these command lines open, I can tell which router I'm on. And now I can see I'm on R1. So we want to configure our interfaces here. So let's just do interface gigabit Ethernet 00 first. And our IP address is 192.168.0.1 with a 255.255.255.0 subnet mask. You've got to get the right subnet mask on there. And then sometimes students forget this, but you have to bring your interface up. Interfaces by default are down on routers. That means if you get a brand new shiny router and you take it out of the box, all the interfaces come in the shutdown mode. So you have to bring them up. All right, that one's coming up. And then we want to go to interface serial. We've got a serial interface here. And we're using serial 000 between the routers. I know that because I set up my serial connections and I picked serial 000 here for this interface and I labeled it to make it easier. Now the IP address I want to give it is 10.0.0.1. I have two usable IP addresses in this subnet mask. They are the .1 and the .2. Just two usables. I have a block size of 4. Network ID is 10.0.0.0. The broadcast is 10.0.0.3. And then we move on to the next network. So here's this, and don't forget your no shut command. There we go. Now it says change state to down. That's because on a point-to-point connection, I have to have the interface up on both sides. So let's go ahead and do that now. We'll just move on to router 2. No, we don't want to enter the configuration dialog. Enable conft, give it a name, host name, R2. We're going to be real inventive here. And let's configure all three interfaces that are on this router. Interface, gigabit, Ethernet 00. IP address is going to be, you can see here, my purple network is 192.168.10.0 network. So it's 192.168.10.1. 255.255.255.0. And what do I need to do? Right? Bring that interface up. Let's do our serial interfaces now, and you will see green lights appear on our packet tracer. If you were doing this on an actual router, you would see green lights come up on the router. Interface S000. IP address is 10.0.0.2. 255.255.255.252. That gives us a block size of 4, two usable IP addresses, and no shut. Look here, change state to up. There we can see it. All right, and let's do serial 001 as well. So interface serial 001. IP address is going to be 10.0.0.5, 255.255.255.252. No shut. All right. We're almost done now with my purple network, all I need to do is to configure my PCs on my purple network. So we're going to desktop. This is going to be 192.168.0.3. I don't know why I didn't pick a .2 there, but I did. 192.168.0. No, not 10. Oh, look, making mistakes. This is my mistake here. I'm on the teal network. I got to give that a .10.3, and here we need a 192.168.10.1, which is my default gateway that I configured already on the router. Okay, now you should go through and do that on the rest of your routers if you're doing this exercise with me. You know, it's just the same pattern, but you need to make sure that you get your PCs in the correct network. Oh, was I on the wrong PC? Let me just double check. Look at that. I was on the wrong PC. Oh, why didn't you tell me? Look, 10.3. Oh no, I just haven't done the second PC yet. See, you make little mistakes like this and then things don't work. And then there we go. And 192.168.10.1 is our default gateway. All right. So, I mean, I would have caught that if I did a ping test between the PCs. You know, my ping wouldn't have worked. So that's a good way to check and see if you need to test your configurations on your PCs. Anyway, go through, configure the rest of the interfaces, and now we're going to hop right into routing. I'm going to configure the routes just to go back and forth here. I will do an answer lab because it gets very confusing when you add these extra devices in. But I mean, the challenge is I want to see if you can do it. You should want to challenge yourself and see if you can do this. You'll end up with 3 statically configured routes on each router. So on the teal router here, on router 1, you will end up with a static route to 192.168.10.0 network, a static route to 192.168.20.0 network, and a static route to 192.168.30.0 network. Now, when you configure router 2 here that is connected to the purple network, the 3 static routes that you should see on router 2 are the teal network, the blue network, and the orange network. Okay, and then same thing for router 3. You will end up seeing the 192.168.0.0 network, the 192.168.10.0 network, and the 192.168.30.0 network. Okay, and that's what needs to happen, and you need to configure it. It doesn't just automatically happen. You've got to tell each router, hey, if you want to get to this network, this is the direction you go. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go here to router 1. And we need to be in global config mode. We're not. We're currently in interface mode. So if you type IP route in here, you're going to get an error. I'm not going to type it in there. I just need to go back one level to global config. And then we need IP route. And we need to, I'm going to put all of the routes in here. It's not going to work because I won't configure all of the routers. You're going to do that in the challenge, but we'll get routing between the teal and purple networks. So IP route, we want to go to the purple network, which is 192.168.10.0, 255.255.255.0. And how do we want to get there? So here's my keywords, IP route. Here's the network that I want packets to be able to get to with the correct subnet mask of that network. And then where do I want to go? I want to go here. I'm on router 1. The next hop is 10.0.0.2. In fact, on router 1, there's not any other next hop. You cannot jump over to router 3. It doesn't work that way. So here we go, 10.0.0.1. Oh, no, that's on my own interface. .2, 10.0.0.2. It's hard to type and talk at the same time. Okay, now while I'm here, I might as well put in all of my other routes as well. So we'll do that. We want to be able to go to the navy blue network, which is 20.0, same next hop, right? So that one's going to be easy. And we also want to be able to go to 30.0. So put those all in there. That looks great. They're all in. Now, all of my static routes for router 1 are configured. Pings will not work yet. Hopefully you watched my last video on static routing. I'll link to it in the description so you can find it if you haven't. And this is looking confusing to you, go back and watch that one first. Okay, so here we are. We've got all of our routes in here. We can see them. I'm using that do command again to just force it. Here we go. They're in my routing table. I know they're there. I know that they're going via 10.0.0.2. Perfect. Everything is set up correctly in this router. All right. Ping's still not going to work because I have not configured this router. If I show IP route, if I look at my IP route here, now only 2 networks are showing up. Why only 2 since I configured serial 001 with 10.0.0.5? Well, because since it's a point-to-point network, it has not come up yet because I haven't configured router 3. So I'm only showing this 10.0.0.0 network, not the 10.0.0.4 network. Do you see here? 10.0.0.3 is connected. So this router can get to 10.0.0.0/30. And then also this router can get to 192.168.10.0 network because it's already in the routing table as a directly connected network. You know where it can't get to? It can't get to my teal network. It's not showing up. It can't get to the navy blue network, and it can't get to the orange network. So we want to go into a global config mode here. So we were in interface mode. We've got to go back 1 level to go to global config mode. And then we need our keywords. Again, IP route. And where do we want this router to be able to route to? Well, the teal network, the navy blue network, and the orange network. And the teal network is not called the teal network. It is called 192.168.0.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. And how do we get there? Well, if you look here, our next hop to get to the teal network is back this way to the left. So we go from this router here, we need to hop to 10.0.0.1 because that's the interface we need to get to. There we go. All right, we're going to configure our other routes here as well while we're here, might as well. Now I don't need to get to the .10 network from here. I already know how because it's a directly connected network. But you know where I do need to get to? I need to get to that navy blue network, which is the .20. The .20, we got to hop in another direction. We got to hop to 10.0.0.6. which this router does not even know about yet, but that's okay. We can still put in the route. So we're going to go to 10.0.0.6 because, you know, we don't hop back that way to get to the navy blue network. No, we got to hop over here to router 3. So 10.0.0.6, enter. Okay, now to get to the orange network, this is where students make mistakes. They'll put in a next hop way over here at 10.0.0.10. You cannot do that. You can only hop to the next hop in static routing. So we're going to do IP route. We're still going to put in the network, which is the .30.0 network. And where is our next hop? Well, it's still right here at 10.0.0.6. This will put my 3 routes that I need in this router. Now, yeah, that 10.0.0.6 interface isn't configured, but still, if we look at our routing table, see, we've only got this static route showing up, this 192.168.0.0 network, because we haven't brought this interface up here in between. Here, let's go ahead and bring that interface up. If we do here, show you one more thing. If you do a show run here, exit or do show run. There we go. If we do a show run, you're going to see that I have all of the routes configured. But of course, these 2 are not showing up because this router doesn't know where the 10.0.0.6 interface is yet. But as soon as I bring that up here on router 3, that's going to allow router 2 to recognize this 10.0.0.4 network here. So let's go in here and we're going to bring it up. We haven't configured anything on this router. Let's go ahead and give it a host name. Host name R3. That way we know where we're at if we get a bunch of command lines up. And we're going to configure interface serial 001 with the IP address of 10.0.0.6. And we've got just block sizes of 4 here. So 255, 255, 255.252, and a no shut. We're going to see it come up here. I'm going to keep this on top. Oh, but threw it over to my other screen. I'm going to keep this on top so that you can see just by configuring, bringing that interface up. Now this router is going to put router 2, I'll call it router 2. It's going to, it also recognized that the interface went up, right? And then we do show IP route. Now these other 2 static routes are going to show up in our routing table, and they do. That is great. Hopefully that will help you. Maybe, sometimes you configure the wrong, I shouldn't say the wrong interfaces. Sometimes people configure interfaces incorrectly. Like they'll put the address that was intended for serial 000 on serial 001. That doesn't work. Your routing won't work if you get things confused like that. So if you've configured your static routes and they're not showing up in your routing table, but they are showing up when you do a show run. Show run's an easy way to see it because we don't have a lot of configurations here. Just type in show run. Then, you can see it there like we did before, but it wasn't showing up in the routing table. That's because our interface wasn't brought up yet. If you've configured your interfaces incorrectly, that can also cause the same issue to happen. All right, so now these 2 routers are fully configured. let's go ahead and ping just to test. We'll go here to the command prompt. We'll do a ping, and we're going to ping 192.168.10.3. And we had an ARP, and then we've got our reply. So great. That's working fantastically. Everything's set. Of course, we cannot ping over to 192.168.20.0. Why? Well, it's going to get through. Well, let's do it. Actually, let me do a trace route. First of all, I'll do a ping. We'll do ping 192.168.20.0. So we're over here on the teal network. We're trying to get to the navy blue network. So ping 192.168.20.3. Now, I also don't have the PCs configured over there, but I could configure the PC and it's still not going to work because we haven't configured router 3 here to send packets back to the teal network. Router A here on the teal network. We haven't configured this to send packets back this way. Once you configure this router here, router 3, to send packets back to 192.168.0.0, then it will work. In fact, I'll just do it. I'm not going to do the rest of them though. So we need to go back to global config mode, IP route. We're going to tell it to go to 192.168.0.0 network with a 255.255.255.0 subnet mask. And what's our next hop from router 3 towards the teal network? I cannot jump all the way back to 10.0.0.1. Don't make that mistake. I can only go the next hop, which is 10.0.0.5. So put my next hop in here, 10.0.0.5. Why is it going to work? Because router 2 is already configured. It knows when it receives this packet that it needs to forward packets that are destined for 192.168.0.0 to this 10.0.0.1 interface. So that's why it's going to work. Let's go ahead and watch it in action. Here we go. Oh, I've also got to configure my PC. Thank you for telling me. I didn't configure my PC yet. We'll just configure this one. 192.168.20. We're over here on .20.3. 255.255.255.0. Oh, I also have to configure my default gateway. So I'll tell this PC where the default gateway is. It's going to be on 192.168.20.1. Okay. It's not going to work, I can't ping 20.1 because it's not configured here yet. Let's go to interface, gigabit Ethernet 00. That's what I'm on here. And we're going to do IP address 192.168.20.1. It's got a 255.255.255.0. And we need to do a no shut and bring that up. Okay, now, just to test, let's ping our default gateway and make sure we can. Ping 192.168.20.1. Make sure we didn't misconfigure anything. We're going through an ARP. Here we go. I've got my reply. Here, let's test it again. There we go. Okay, so it just took a little while to ARP. I could just ping over to here, but I want to show you that now we can get to 20.3 We've put that return route in and static route is working. Okay, so for your challenge, what do you need to do? Well, you need to configure the remaining interfaces here. So we need serial 000 configured on router 3. You also need to put the other two routes, the route to the purple address and the route to the orange address, into this router 3 static routing configuration. And you need to configure router 4, give it a name, R4, bring your interfaces up, configure your PCs with their proper, IP address and default gateway, tell it where the default gateway is, and then put all three static routes into this fourth router here, sending it to the blue network, the purple network, and the teal network. And you'll see those show up as static routes. I would love it if you'd complete this packet tracer. I will save this packet tracer just like it is up to this point in my Google Drive, and you can download it from there and give this a shot. If you'd like to, comment in the comments section. You can ask questions. I can't guarantee I'll get to them all. I mean, right now I hardly have any subscribers, so I probably will be able to get to all of your questions. Now's a great time to post questions on YouTube for me. I'll get to them. But if you're watching this video in a few years from now, maybe I'll have a lot of subscribers. So that might be a little more difficult for me. But still, post your questions. Somebody might get in there and answer them. So that would be great.